about Fox or conservative talk radio, and they're demanding, we're going to demand this equal time. And I'm thinking, boy, if you add up all the mainstream media, and CNN and MSNBC and the mainstream TV channels, that equal time rule might be pretty good for conservatives because they've really got us outnumbered, don't they?
Well, I think that in theory that might be the case, but in practice any kind of equal time mandate will be used as a weapon against conservative views. It'll be because the regulators who would implement it will be very sympathetic to big government viewpoints. And I don't trust any kind of government-run, regulated, kind of mandatory speech to be truly free speech. I think that you've got to have a system of private ownership and control and competition to really have protection for free speech. And one of the things that concerns me about the FCC's push to regulate the Internet like a public utility, which is essentially economic regulation, is that over time economic regulation will lead to content regulation. And I think that we already see the seeds of that when you look at things like recent comments from FCC Commissioner Michael Copps, that he identified that one of the problems with the Internet is that it doesn't have public interest regulation to ensure that the voices of women and minorities are heard, and that it should be designed and managed in a way that those viewpoints are heard. Well, he says, I don't mean content regulation, of course, but how can you accomplish privileging certain viewpoints that you think are not loud enough right now, other than exercising control and suppressing other viewpoints and kind of trying to balance things out with a government hand? And that's a very, very frightening concept to me. Of course, the old fairness doctrine for talk radio was in principle about an equal time and leveling the playing field, but in practice it made conservative talk radio impossible as a commercial venture because nobody wanted to listen to the opposing viewpoint. And so when you get into these kinds of rationales for we just want to have everyone heard, and you look a little deeper, you can see that it really is a pretext for content regulation that would be very damaging to free speech.
Yeah. I worked under the equal time, and I'm telling you, it was a pain in the butt. But also, you could almost see, like they'd say in a football game, well, now you've got to bring in the weakest team against the strongest team. No, that's not going to, nobody wants that, just what you just said. People aren't going to want to hear that other stuff. But it's almost the same principle. And they really put pressure on you, and especially when it comes around the time for to renew your license, to keep your station. Boy, all the paperwork that went into that, it was unbelievable.
Yeah, and the justification for the heavy-handed regulation of the broadcast space has always been, broadcast spectrum is a public trust. This is, this is owned by the public. And one of the things that I really fear about this effort to regulate the Internet is we'll destroy the incentives for private investment, and then government will step in with our tax dollars, and we'll be forced as taxpayers to pay for building and maintaining Internet networks. And this already started with the stimulus bill, where taxpayers had to put in $7.2 billion into broadband Internet stimulus. But those tax dollars will come, not only will we have to pay for them as taxpayers, which I think is a terrible thing, but they'll also come with a lot of strings attached. And all the same arguments that have historically been made for broadcast regulation will start to be made for the Internet, because you'll see these regulators say, well, it's a public trust. We have all these tax dollars going in. We have to regulate in the public interest and ensure equal viewpoints and so on and so forth. So you can see how once you allow for regulation in an economic sense that disrupts the incentives for private investment and government starts to step in with more and more tax dollars, that really opens the door to a lot of content control as well, in my view. And we've got something that works so well as it is right now, it just seems crazy to risk messing it up.
Well, and like the report you guys put out, you see figures like, $60 billion a year, 95% of U.S. households, 2/3 of Americans now have access to the Internet, and they start thinking, money, 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 money. But, here's the thing. Here's the way I look at it, Phil, is like if you have minorities saying, well, we're not really getting our story out there and blah, blah, blah. When it comes to the Internet, the difference between television and radio is that you can accidentally, turn on the TV or radio station or whatever, and you're going to get something. But on the Internet, you actually have to, enter that site to do it. So if there's, let's say you've got a minority group that says, well, we're not getting enough coverage, blah, 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 as compared to, say, the Drudge Report, okay? All they got to do is Google what they want, and they're going to get a whole long list of places that they can go and get their equal time. That's just my opinion. We're going to continue with Phil Kerpen. He's Vice President for Policy Americans for Prosperity. The website, www.americansforprosperity.org. And we'll continue in just a moment.
Do you want a wireless laptop but you're